Hello and welcome to Virtual Coffee with Ashish. I've got two amazing guests today. You guys may know them as Hacker Valley Studio, Chris and Ron. I have it feels like I've been watching their content for a long time, but I've been clarified. It's only been a year since they've been creating content, so it's quite awesome that I was able to get them in. So this is for people who are joining in. This is going live on Twitch as well as LinkedIn, and I'll probably put on later on YouTube as well. So when you guys get to it, just feel free to share and do whatever. This will be available on Hacker Valley Studio as well. And I'm not going to butcher the introduction for Hacker Valley Studio, so I'm going to let Ron and Chris do an amazing job, as they always do with their content. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. You guys know who I am. So my name is Ashish. I run the Cloud Security Podcast, and I am going to pass over to Chris and Ron to introduce themselves. You guys can take whoever wants to go first.
Take it away, Chris. What's going on, everybody? Chris Cochran from Hacker Valley Studio, along with my co-host, Ron Eddings. I work at Netflix on the information security team, leading threat intelligence. Happy to be here, Ashish. Appreciate the invitation, and looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, I think Chris said it best. Also co-host of Hacker Valley Studio. When I'm not blogging or podcasting, I'm a security architect and also leading a team of security architects at Palo Alto Networks.
That is awesome. And because we're talking cybersecurity, I'm sure a lot of people are curious. How did you guys get into cybersecurity? Were you always, I guess, hackers?
For me, absolutely. Ever since I got my first computer, there was kind of the situation I found myself in. I used to chat a lot with my friends in the AOL Instant Messenger chat rooms, and I ended up getting the some type of direct message. And back then with AOL Instant Messenger, there was this feature called direct message, where it allowed you to send someone else files. So me being young and dumb, I just said, all right, I want to see what this file is that someone's sending me. And it happened to be a virus. Luckily for me, this person that took my computer down, it turned my computer off. I turned it back on. And then I went back into the chat room. I found the person. I was like, how did you do this? And he gave me the name of the program. It was called ProRat. And I was like, what? This is the most amazing thing ever. But ever since then, I've really just picked up programming books, security books. And I had a great mentor at a very young age. I was around 17, and I met someone named Marcus Carey. He's the author of Tribe of Hackers. And he took me under his wing and really showed me the way. And that was kind of my path into the game.
Right. Wow. So wait, so you're 19 now? Is that what you're saying?
No, when I was
just checking if you got
Ron wishes.
Yeah, I think the head shows, right?
I think all of us wishing we were 19 right now. Over to you, Chris.
Yeah, so I got into the game early. I got really into technology, taking apart computers, putting components together, just seeing how they work. Of course, like most people that were tinkerers, I had one of those Radio Shack kits where you could build alarm systems, you could build radios and things like that. I was just fascinated with technology. And eventually I joined the Marine Corps, and luckily I joined a field of intelligence that allowed me to stay close and connected to technology. And lo and behold, my actual job became what is threat intelligence today. And so just staying in touch with tech, in touch with all of the attacks and adversaries that are out there, it's just been kind of a seamless path for me.
Oh, that's awesome. And thank you for your service as well, by the way.
Absolutely.
It's amazing to have, it's interesting that Ron, you had a mentor, and Chris, you kind of came from a military background as well. How did you guys meet? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, so we actually met at a company. We worked at IronNet cybersecurity. That was General Alexander's startup. He's still there. General Alexander was the director of the National Security Agency for 8 years. And so I was the intel guy. Ron was the hunter. And so we would work hand in hand, trying to, keep folks protected.
Oh, awesome. And for people who don't know, when you say intel and threat hunter, how do you share that with people who are not from security? What do you guys tell them when you're meet a non-security person as to what you guys do.
Yeah. So for threat intelligence, I keep track of all the things that bad people are doing from a cyber perspective. So I keep track of all the hackers, whether they're hackers for nation states, like a part of the different nations' military, or criminals, because there's huge, gigantic criminal organizations that are doing bad things with the internet, with fraud and other types of malicious activity. And hunters are the folks that are looking for the bad folks within your network. So they're looking for the things that your common conventional security applications aren't picking up.
Sweet. By the way, just before I do want to reference, we do have coffees with us, right?
Yeah, yes, indeed. You got to. Coffee with Ashish. You got to have coffee.
Yeah, that's right. Ron, is that beer? It looks like beer. That doesn't look like coffee.
This is for the people that drink a lot of coffee. You need a big cup like this.
Also, I got my Marine Corps emblem right there. There you go.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. Like probably a good time to mention with the whole. And I'm gonna switch back to the technology side, but quickly touching on the whole, I guess, working from home during COVID, and you mentioned threat intelligence. Has working from home changed your view on security, I guess, for both of you? Because now I'm sure both of you are working from home. Although Ron looks like he's working from a hacker studio. But I'm gonna start with you first, Ron. Has your opinion about security while working from home changed?
I wouldn't say necessarily my idea of security has changed, but I think the way that we're looking at opportunities in security has changed. The opportunities in security are I think are even more vast than they were previously, pre-COVID, just because now the security practitioners are working remote. The ones that aren't in the field yet, they have even more time to study. There's nowhere to go, so they might be hitting the books really hard right now. Also, for all of the people that have switched to remote, it's really opened up the gate for migrating to the cloud. Everyone's kind of going that direction already, but now we've really just jump started the whole thing, and we're going to start seeing a lot more adoption in the cloud. I think it's still a transition. It's still a journey. It's going to be a while until we see large organizations that are 100% adopted in the cloud. But I think that's the opportunity that has shifted since being locked down.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. What about yourself, Chris?
Yeah, so the only thing I see is a bit of a change in scale, right? Because there are plenty of companies right now that are working remote, some more than others. Some companies are completely remote, some are 50-50, some do occasional remote work. It's the companies that had to adopt remote work quickly are the ones that had to grow the most. So the only thing I see that is going to be different is that more people are going to be able to work remotely, but that's actually going to end up paying dividends over time, because you'll be able to hire talent that's not in your area. You'll be able to manage your devices in a way that's slightly more intelligent through technology. There's a lot of benefits to working remotely. So we always try to look on the bright side of things.
Oh, sweet. No, and thank you for sharing that as well, because I think there's almost like people kind of tend to forget that, to Ron's point, it doesn't change much, but I guess the landscape kind of varies a bit. Is that the right way to put it? It's just like still the same kind of security. It's just that now you probably are a bit more cautious that most of your staff are remote.
You might even have a more simplified view of security after kind of working from home. There's less devices being used on and off prem.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, actually, that's a good one. And I guess just for people who are live, I'm just trying to think through. We've got about 7 people on. Wow, I didn't realize that Twitch had 7 people looking at us, but Twitch has 7 people, and there are quite a few on LinkedIn as well. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section as well. Ron, you touched on cloud, which is my favorite topic at the moment. But thanks to my cloud security podcast, what does cloud security look for you?
The cloud, that's a great question. Just because there's so many different definitions of cloud security. I think it really depends on the cloud provider that you're using, and also what kind of cloud customer you are. That would kind of dictate what kind of cloud security or what cloud security means to you. But for me, I live in a world of automation. So for me, I look at a lot of services and the alerts that they generate. And my whole goal, being a security architect, and where I fit in with cloud security, is taking and making sense of a lot of applications, a lot of logs, the output from a lot of services, and enriching them to make it meaningful for an analyst or an engineer to triage. So I look at cloud security. It's the same as traditional security, but there's just a shift in maybe not securing the device, but kind of securing the application.
Mhm.
What about you, Chris? What?
The way I look at cloud security is I think of one word: agility. Being able to change your infrastructure, being able to change your security posture with changes in code I think is phenomenal, especially for, nimble companies that, might be smaller. But even if you have large organizations where you need to change based on divisions, based on roles, things like that, you're focused on identity, right? Identity is huge in cloud. So that's where a lot of your security actually ends up coming from. And so being able to have this agility and focus your efforts on being agile, I think is what is one of the main components of being in cloud security.
Sweet. And I think the moment you guys mentioned it, there's a question from Ali Reza. What is your security concern in Azure Data Factory? I'm going to revert that. Instead of just calling specifically Azure Data Factory, is because I think it's more, if I were to revert that, you can answer that directly if you feel like, but just so that people understand a broader context, what does data security mean in the cloud context then for you guys? If it's like, I think that's kind of where he's coming from as well, or he or she is coming from. There's no picture, so I don't know if it's a he or a she. Sorry. So the question is, what is security concerns in Azure Data Factory?
So not necessarily, pointing the finger at Azure or any other brand out there, but when you're looking at data security, what you want to do is you want to first classify your data. That's one thing. These basics don't change. Just because we're moving to the cloud doesn't mean that we don't do some of the same stuff. So data classification first, because that tells you all the controls that you need to have to protect that specific data, right? And then how much do you ramp it up? What encryption are you using for that specific data, right? Think about data just as you would on-prem. It's not any different. So, covering your basics, making sure that things are as secure as it needs to be while being available is going to be primary.
Oh, sweet. Ron, anything that you want to add to that?
No, I would kind of just echo what Chris said. And you have to really understand the type of data that you're storing and how it needs to be accessible. Maybe not all types of data or the kind of all places where you're storing your data need to be secured in such fashion. So it might not make sense to try to go after everything. I think it's really understanding your data and kind of working from there and securing what you need to secure in whatever fashion it needs to be secured in.
Sweet. No, thank you. Hopefully, Alreza, that answered your question, but feel free to leave another, comment or question if you want more clarification. With the cloud security, going back to the cloud security definition, and it's really great that Alreza brought up Azure, because one of the things that I'm noticing, and I wonder if it's the same for you guys as well, do you guys feel multi-cloud is a thing?
Yep.
Oh, that's like you said, synchronous, yes. But is it more, because I feel like people kind of confuse multi-cloud sometimes. We say, oh, they think I've got SaaS services running, or versus I've got Azure and AWS. Like, what do you guys think when I say multi-cloud, which version is yours?
Yeah, I mean, you want to go first, Ron?
I think multi-cloud is kind of both. So the first definition that I might look at is, all right, does that mean you're just having applications in both clouds, or are you really using all of the features and even infrastructure in both clouds? But I think either way, definitely a thing. Big banks often have multi-cloud environments of some sort, just because the sensitivity of the data and also how available the data has to be. You kind of want to ensure that by going to multiple clouds.
Yep. And one size doesn't fit all. There might be applications that you need to have in Google Cloud. There might be features that AWS has that you really depend on for your operations. So really looking at all of your options and kind of piecing things together. I like to akin things to Bruce Lee. He says, take all the things that you can use, and then everything else, just throw it away.
Oh, Bruce Lee, man. It's like, well, it's way too early in the morning and way too deep, but I can consume that with some coffee in my hand. So talking about, we spoke about multi-cloud, we spoke about cloud security, and obviously, I think we have a varied audience here. What does maturity in cloud look like for you? What do you consider is almost like a baby step for cloud security versus like super advanced cloud security? What does that look like for you guys?
Yeah. For me, cloud security in a mature organization, I think of redundancy. I think of high availability. If something has to come down because there's a configuration error or something like that, being able to transition over to maybe like a warm site in the cloud is pivotal. Being able to deploy infrastructure in a way that makes sense quickly and efficiently is going to be pivotal. Making changes in the cloud, keeping track of those changes is what to me is a part of being a mature organization. And then don't forget asset management. Asset management doesn't go away because you have less endpoints. Asset management is still huge because you need to keep track of what applications you have. You need to keep track of the dependencies those applications have, and also the vulnerabilities that they have as well.
What about you, Ron?
Yeah, I think I would say high availability. And Chris, you already said that. But when you're in the cloud, one of the biggest perks is availability. So how can you secure your applications while maintaining very available applications? So what I look at is the application itself and how it's designed. And if you're able to detect security vulnerabilities or security and respond to security alerts, you're going to probably have to redeploy your application. So having a lot of flexibility in your environment is also very important. But I think that your security alerting and response strategy has to be flexible in such a way. And I think that's why the term detection engineering is very popular today.
Sweet. What is detection engineering, or what is detection engineering for people who don't know about it?
I would say it's a bit of being a security engineer and an incident response analyst. You're able to create the detection logic, and that detection logic might have some response logic built in. Maybe once you see a specific alert on an EC2 instance, you automatically go and redeploy that EC2 instance, but block that activity from that other sender.
Oh, so putting in other words, unlike traditional data center security, where a lot of it has to be, I guess you log into a server, and if you need to bring up a new box, you just go to this VMware massive console, bring up a new virtual machine. Instead of just doing that, use APIs to automate a lot of that. Is that another way to put it, I guess?
Yep. Absolutely. And but it's not necessarily exclusively that, but that is a component of detection engineering. That could be a component of it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so to both of your mention, I think so that's a great example I think I hear that more from a mature perspective, where I guess people already have like a big security team and they have engineering capability. Because a lot of, I guess, I don't know if it's in Australia thing, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of companies that I've seen around, I guess some of the countries in the US as well, a lot of people don't even have a security engineering person. They usually have the traditional, and this is not in a way saying it's a bad thing. They have a security architect, they have a SOC team, they have an application security guy. And sometimes they'll be like, why do I need a engineering guy? How do you answer that?
You want to take a stab at it, Chris?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple ways you can do it. I mean, actually, not a couple ways. There's like a million ways you can do security in any organization. But you can have a distributed security model where the majority of the people on your security team are enabling the application owners, they're enabling the data owners to do all of their operations more efficiently. So you're helping them build tools to keep them safe. You're creating paved roads for them to do their development. But you can also have folks that are doing like operations. You can have a SOC, like you were saying. You can have folks that are actually doing incident response, things like that. But there's so many models that you can take. It really depends on your industry. It depends on compliance. It depends on your maturity. It depends on your size. So many different things.
Oh, right. And anything to add to that, Ron?
I would say take a look at security as kind of like what Chris was saying, enabling the application owner, but bringing the security related events to them that are related to their application. So creating some type of alert that's easy enough for that application owner to respond to themselves.
Right. And I guess your point about I guess if that's the case in this scenario, if I were to just kind of change the tables a bit. So for people who haven't started this journey and they want to go down that path, are there baby steps that you guys recommend that they can take?
I guess it would depend on where they're getting started from. Are they getting started from scratch, or if they're getting started from like some type of foundation?
Yeah. Now that I think about it, the question, probably pretty vague, but I think it's like more in terms of for example, I'm a head of security in a company, and I've got a couple of people in my team, and I've got an AppSec guy, SOC guy, but I've slowly noticed that I'm going into the cloud space. I think I normally recommend people to go and explore what kind of services are already available in cloud to start, I guess, in some engineering against. I think that's kind of where it was coming from. But I guess if you have another opinion in terms of is there a better way to approach it than just use a tool, or just don't go into a tool first? What do you guys recommend in that space? Go for a tool straight away if you can afford it, I guess.
I mean, I think Chris has the best answer. It's the easy button.
Easy button, that's right.
Yeah, goodness, good old easy button.
Right. This actually answers the question too.
Yeah, for folks that don't know what the easy button is, I actually made it specifically for threat intelligence, and then I ended up converting it over for cybersecurity writ large. The easy button is list of requirements. So what are the things your stakeholders need to do the missions that they're doing? Assess collection plan. Where are you getting your data? Where are you getting your people, your resources? Where are you looking for things that you need to do to support everybody else? Strive for impact, because that's huge. Maybe you want to show value, so you want to show specific metrics to the board. Maybe you want to show metrics to the CISO. Maybe you want to show it to stakeholders, different things like that. And then why yield to feedback? Because obviously if someone's giving you feedback, whether it's a peer, whether it's a superior, or even a direct report, something needs to happen. Maybe there's a miscommunication, maybe something needs to be improved, or maybe something just needs to change in general. But easy button for just about everything in cybersecurity.
Easy peasy.
Yeah. And to add to that, right, just to break that down even further. So when you're trying to find your requirements, you're at the E part of the easy button. You might want to do something really cool in security, but that might not provide the organization any value. So I think before checking out what does AWS have specifically, you have to understand what are your organization's needs and their values and the goals, and try to help the organization reach those points instead of just doing something cool just for the fun of it.
Oh, I like that. I just realized, actually, sorry, I was just seeing the ticker, and I realized I had the wrong website there. So I had cloudsecuritypodcast.com instead of .tv. Sorry.
No.
I don't know, because you said easy button. I'm looking at this button why does it look so different? I'm like, oh, no, I know why it looks different. That's all right. I've got more than half of the video just have the wrong website. That's live for you. So now I'm going to switch gears a bit, and I would love to hear from you guys. What is the most common misconception you hear about cloud or security in cloud?
I'll start out, and I think there's a few. One that comes to mind is the price. And I think that some will say, oh, cloud is expensive. Some will say, oh, cloud is cheap. And I think the answer is it always depends. It always depends on what you're bringing in, how much you're going to use it, how often it's going to be used. So I think that the price is often what's assumed and often the most incorrect.
Cool. Good answer. Chris, do you want to add something to that?
That it is vulnerable by design, I think, is one of the biggest misconceptions I've heard, because you hear about all these S3 bucket dumps and things like that. It's not AWS that's the problem, or the it's not their technology. It's the implications and the application of their technology. So by having folks that might not know exactly what they're doing, maybe it's the first time they're rolling out cloud infrastructure, maybe they had a configuration mishap. I would say definitely work close with your cloud provider and make sure that you are deploying things in a safe and secure manner.
Sweet. And just to take that step a bit further, what do you both feel that people are not talking enough about in cloud and security of cloud, I guess?
Maybe the basics of the services. I think that there's a lot of resources out there. It can be overwhelming at times, and it can also be hard to find some good resources. So I personally look at AWS Security Hub when I'm trying to find out more about AWS specific topics. I think that's a great resource, and there's a lot of basics to all of these services. And once you understand those, it's a lot easier not to go wrong.
Oh, so I love that one. That's pretty good. Basics 101s first.
Yeah.
Chris, anything to add to that, or you just echo?
Yeah, the only thing I would say, and this is a meme, this is a T-shirt. They say cloud is just somebody else's computer, and in some ways they are 100% correct. So a lot of the same things that you can do from an on-prem perspective, you can do in the cloud. So definitely keep that in mind. Don't over mystify cloud.
Oh, yeah, love that. I love the answer. Thanks, guys. I'm gonna switch over to some of the questions that were asked in comments that we had posted last time. So I have a question from Jacqueline Ryder. Her question was, I'd love to hear from Chris and Ronald about having a day job and a podcast. They seem to be complementary, but have there been any conflicts or challenges? Has a side hustle brought any unexpected benefits to their careers? Like a couple of questions in there. However you guys want to take it, whoever wants to take it first.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start with that. So the podcast has been one of the most amazing things I've ever done in my life. Being able to have conversations with brilliant people, record it and share it with the world. I mean, you can't get much better than that. I feel like a lot of the reason why, even while we're, having coffee with you, Ashish, is because we put out a podcast, we put out content. And so just by virtue of being connected to all these amazing people, all these amazing practitioners and content creators, I think you really can't go wrong, both from a personal perspective and from a work perspective. From my day job, there's not a lot of overlap, to be honest. I might be able to articulate answers and communicate a bit better now that I've practiced communicating so much over the last year. But I don't think anyone at my day job has pat me on the back like, oh my gosh, you're getting promoted because you have a podcast. But I will say that my stock, and I think the same for Ron's as well, has grown just by putting ourselves out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would 100% agree. It's actually complimentary, I would say, more than anything, just because our podcast is about cybersecurity, but more so about the human element, which isn't really talked about enough, in my opinion. And also, it's good for the company, right? I also do a lot of public endorsement and speaking for Palo Alto Networks. So it's kind of a blend of both, and when it actually leads to more opportunities at work. So I was just recently asked to do a webcast for another business unit at Palo Alto Networks because they saw the podcast and they liked the content, and they're like, hey, would you mind doing something for us also? So I would say it's very complimentary.
And I guess to take that a bit, the other half was, has a side hustle brought any unexpected benefits to their career? So do you guys consider this as a side hustle though?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'd say just recently we launched our Patreon page. For a while, we were doing everything completely out of pocket. But we found out that if we really want to take the show to the next level, bring the best guests, bring the best equipment, bring the best content that we can bring, it's going to take the strength of the community. And so we launched our Patreon page. If you don't mind, I mean, we can, put it in the comments below or something like that, just so people could check it out. But yeah, it's patreon.com/Hacker Valley Studio. Well, but the thing is that you're not just giving us money for the stuff that we already do. We're going to continue to do podcasts. That's not going to change. The thing that's cool about Patreon is we actually have tiers that we provide additional benefits, right? So like in one tier, we have a mastermind meeting once a month. And one tier, you're getting exclusive content that we don't put out for everybody. And it's just for our patrons. So so now technically it's a side hustle.
Wow. And it's pretty awesome that you guys are so when did you guys start with the podcast?
April of last year.
One year.
Wow, this is 1 year and 1 month later, I guess.
Yeah.
Looking back, and I'm assuming Jacqueline has probably asked that question. Probably she considers probably going down that path as well. What would your recommendation be for other people who are trying to get into the space? And I guess from the learning that you guys have for an year, like what would you want to give back to her if she wants to start down that path as well?
I would say be relentless. You have to keep on going. The podcast is going to be for someone. Hopefully it's not just for you and your ego. Hopefully, you want to put something back out for someone to appreciate and enjoy. And even if it's just one person, that's still a win. And if it's thousands of people, that's even better. But either way, do it for the love of it and do it because you want to do it rather than because of the numbers.
Yep.
100%. And would you guys say, and this is just something that I've done personally, but I'm curious, because I normally tell people to go on YouTube as well. And to your point about Patreon and I guess having it as a side hustle, does it make sense to start with Patreon and YouTube early? Or did you guys, because you guys started much later, but looking back, would you start it earlier?
I wouldn't start it earlier, just by nature of, I would say it's more ego and more perception for yourself, like self-perception. Because if you launch a podcast tomorrow and you have a Patreon page, I almost guarantee you no one's going to pay. I mean, it's going to take a while for you to start getting paid to do your craft. In most cases, sure, you have those one-offs where, oh yeah, I started yesterday and I have 50,000 followers already. So that, I mean, you have those outliers.
Yeah.
But I would say focus on your craft first. Focus on getting good, and don't break the bank in the beginning. Like I didn't have this mic in the beginning. We were using headsets for a long time. So yeah, don't break the bank. Do what you can do. Get sharp. Work on your craft, and then eventually, when you start to invest in it yourself, then you can start asking others to invest with you.
Sweet. Anything to add, Ron?
That's it.
I think the podcast thing reminded me, I remember seeing a post from you guys where you did 5 interviews in 5 days or 7 interviews in 7 days.
No, it was 9 interviews in one day.
we had 10 scheduled, but
yeah,
there was crazy traffic. I couldn't get there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow. Like I think I find 1 a day sometimes quite intense, because you almost feel like all your energy goes into it. You guys did like 9 of them in 1 day.
Yeah.
9. It's actually interesting because the energy builds up as you do more and more. So once you're 3 in, you're actually very into it and you kind of get lost in it. It was one of the fastest days I've ever had, and I loved every minute of it.
Yeah. Wow. I have a mentor, Yael Nagler. She was actually on the podcast, and she told me that if you really want to find out what you really want to do, is think about the thing that you will pick up the phone to discuss no matter how tired you are at the end of the day. If you pick up the phone and you're going to have energy doing it, that's what you need to be doing. And so when we do podcasts, it just gives us energy.
Wow. Wow. And you're totally, I guess, exuding your energy throughout the interview as well. That's some awesome. I've got one more question on the comment from the previous post from Taylor Herson. His question was, what's the number one most exploited security weakness from malicious hackers, in your opinion? It can be high level and agnostic rather than related to a specific system.
You want that one, Ron?
The number one most exploited
vulnerability.
What security weakness? Yeah, vulnerability from malicious hackers.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's the easy one. It's humans.
Exactly.
It's always humans.
It sounds cliche. It really does sound cliche. And you're like, oh, come on. Like, what? No, really, what is the number one vulnerability? But I mean, that is it, because a lot of the attack vectors, you need a human being to be a part of it. So that's absolutely the number one.
Yep. Sweet. And that's a great answer as well. I think Jacqueline just responded to you guys on the chat as well. So she's totally a fan of you guys, and she's going to check out the Patreon track. So I'm going to leave it on the comment as well for, I guess, others to check out. So you guys are definitely doing an awesome job in that space. I think this is towards the end of the last segment, and these are just fun questions, non-technical questions. Feel free to answer as much or as little as you want. Mm-hmm. The first one is, what do you spend most time on when you're not working on technology?
The podcast. I literally wake up thinking about the podcast, and I go to sleep thinking about the podcast.
Wow. Oh, that is awesome. Like, what about you, Ron?
Same here. We're constantly, strategizing and talking about it. So I would have to say podcasts. If I had to give something else, if someone wanted another answer besides that, because Chris just gave it away. When we weren't locked down, I spent a lot of time in the gym. So maybe like an hour and a half a day, just hanging out, working out. Yep. Dude, little escape.
Like weightlifting, or is that like more cardio? What are you doing for?
Ron's a beast.
It was weightlifting and yoga. I love yoga.
Wait, you need to flex those guns, man. You need to. You can't just like say you go to the gym for an hour and a half, not flex your guns over there. Come on, man.
I'll give him one flex.
Thanks for the flex, man. I'm pretty sure fans are impressed already. So I guess pre-lockdown, I guess it's funny, because I think the only reason I started Virtual Coffee with Ashish was because pre-lockdown I used to have coffee with a lot of people, like new people. I'd reach out to them and meet them out for coffees. But lockdown has kind of forced me to start this thing as well. Otherwise, it wasn't like a thing. And I'm like, well, I kind of have virtual coffees. So it's a great answer. I'm actually curious, and this may be slightly off track, but what's the goal for your podcast? Like, as in, how you guys are so passionate about it. Like
the purpose or the ultimate goal, like the end goal of the podcast.
Ooh, maybe let's start with the goal first, and then come back. Maybe just start with the purpose and then go with the goal. I'm keen to hear both.
I'll take purpose if you take end goal, Ron. Does that sound good? Sound fair?
Yeah.
The purpose of this podcast is to reveal and highlight high performers across cybersecurity, and to share experience, knowledge, and advice to get people from where they are currently to where they want to be. We want to supply top tier information to the top 1% of cybersecurity practitioners. We want people that wake up, eat, breathe this stuff to be able to be their best every single day when they go into the office. So any information that will supply them to be able to do that is what we're looking for. So stuff like mindfulness, we're looking for stuff like fitness, nutrition. What are the things on the fringes of cybersecurity that the people need to know to bring their best A game?
Oh, Ron,
love it. And the goal kind of going forward, right, is to spread it further, kind of go into other areas, but also adopt areas outside of cybersecurity, more so general to technology. So looking at the technology practitioners, because there's so much overlap, there's so many interesting stories, there's so many reasons why people are the way they are and know the things that they do. So we have a great network, and we're seeing opportunities to mingle with other people's network and bring them on the podcast. We've been learning a lot, and it's great to give all that information back to the community.
That is awesome, and I love that it's, and probably this is kind of why I feel like I got attracted towards Hacker Valley Studio, is because it's so selfless, and not in a bad way. It's more to the point that you guys are trying to help the community and share the information. It's not about how awesome I am and how sexy my voice is, I guess. It's more about giving back to the community and what you could be doing more. And I love the angle that you kind of brought in from, because each cybersecurity person is multiple layers, right? We're not just security. I guess Ron goes to the gym for an hour and a half. And I'm sure you like to mow the lawn from the looks of it, like Chris in the background.
Unfortunately, I do not mow my lawn, but I do work out as well. I just usually let Ron take all the fitness stuff because he is in way better shape than I am.
That's your way, Jack. And Ron is just like the more cuts he can bring to his t-shirt. He's like, oh, I don't know what the heck is. I love the fact that you guys are bringing in the other elements of the cybersecurity community as well. That it's not just about knowing how amazing, I guess, a blue team or a purple team or a red team you are. It's about fitness and other things as well. It's amazing. So is that something that you're already set foundations for, or is that slowly going to get added into Hacker Valley Studio?
It's been since day one. Since day one, the very first episode was this concept of cyber alchemy. Like, what does that even mean, right? So it's actually still up on Apple or Google Podcasts. Just go check it out. But I mean, what were you, like 3 episodes in where we brought somebody in to talk about fitness and nutrition? It's been a part of who we've been this entire time. I think it's taken time for us to dial in and have people be like, oh, I get it, what they're doing. Because in the beginning, it seemed chaotic. Like, first we're talking about threat intelligence, and all of a sudden we're talking about, meditation. Like, what is this podcast? But people are starting to get it, and they're starting to love it.
Oh wow, and more like a holistic view of cybersecurity as well. Actually, connecting to the community instead of just going, here's some amazing hacker content. Just go and protect yourself from all the bad hackers out there.
Right.
Sweet. All right, I'm going to continue with the fun question, but this was a great answer. Thank you for sharing that. What is something that you're proud of, but you don't have it on your social media? Who wants to take this first?
You said, but we don't have it on social media?
Yeah, you don't have it on social media.
There's something for me, non-related to work or cybersecurity, but I don't use social media too much. So I don't post a lot of personal things. I post a lot of things that I read, things that Chris and I are doing, things that, about these types of conversations. But one thing that I'm proud of was my sisters recently came to visit. And we went up to Napa Valley. It was a great trip. We rented a bus. It was a beautiful day out. That was just a coincidence. I didn't plan that part. But but it was a great day. And it's going to be, something that we remember for quite a long time.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Chris?
Yeah, I'd say the one thing that I don't like to brag about, because I feel like it's more of a duty and a service that I do than for something for me to like be, hey guys, look at me, look at what I do. But I have mentees that I talk to on a regular basis. I help coach people like through their career. I hope coach them through life. All the people that reach out, so maybe sometimes we'll bring up like reviews like on the podcast or some nice things that people say about the podcast, but I rarely share the deep, intimate stories that people share with me and with Ron about how, the podcast has actually changed their life. And that's a huge driver for us to keep doing what we're doing. And it's a good signal for us because we know that we're doing stuff that changes people's lives in some ways. People have reached out to us and said that, I got promoted because of the content that you guys are producing. And that'd be great social media stuff. But I don't think that's something that needs to be shared. I think there are some things that can be left sacred and you can keep with yourself and feel good about it. It's like, doing something for a charity or, donating something fantastic to a school. If you post it on Instagram because you want likes, I mean, that kind of takes away from it, to be honest. So, doing something just because it's the right thing to do and it makes you just feel good inside, I think is a great thing.
Sweet. And I think I lost Ron. Oh, there you go. He's back again. There you go. You're back, man. Hey, Ron.
And
Wrong button. Is that the wrong easy button? Is that what you went for?
Easy escape.
Easy escape. That's pretty much it. Like, oh my God, Chris is on again. Let me just pretend to disconnect. Ron, I think you kind of shared your Napa Valley thing as well, Napa Valley experience. And you mentioned something on the weather, and I'm not sure, is weather not usually great in Napa Valley, being a winery? Is that why you kind of mentioned the great weather?
Well, this was in February, and February is still kind of a rainy season. It's not as sunny, so
Oh, right.
it might not be as beautiful.
Right. Sorry. And so like, why the special mention of the weather? Like, yeah, it's great weather. It's like every day great weather.
There is great weather, I heard, though, for sure.
Sorry, coming back to you, Chris, I would have thought you would have put in your comedy stuff, but then I realized you actually did post about your comedy stuff.
Yeah, I did. So like a lot of the things that I do, the uncomfortable situations that I put myself in, I do share those because I do feel like people can learn that, oh man, Chris is putting himself in all types of uncomfortable situations, like stand-up comedy, like poetry reading, and Ron is doing the same stuff. So I do share that because I want people to see, like, get out of your comfort zone. Being comfortable never made anybody great. So I do share that stuff.
Wait, so I'm curious, what's the most uncomfortable thing that both of you have done? Or maybe it could be together or individually.
Go ahead, Ron.
The most uncomfortable
so far.
That's a good question. I don't necessarily get uncomfortable too easily, but maybe it would be, I would say, dancing, like kind of being a part of a dancing group. So I do Zumba from time to time, and that's a little uncomfortable for me, but I still enjoy it. It's no shame. But I guess that would be the most.
Wow, cool. That's pretty. I was gonna say Zumba to because I think there's like a R&B Zumba and the other versions as well. Like, is there a particular kind of song genre that you kind of prefer doing Zumba to?
No preference. But if I do like doing some type of movements that I'm not used to. So I do enjoy the uncomfortable situations also. So I like it all. And I think the latest one that I did was like a hit type of Zumba where you're running all over the place, but still trying to do some type of dance at the same time.
All right. I'm going to check that out. Might take the name from you for that Zumba. I might get my wife into it as well. What about you, Chris?
Stand-up comedy. That was the hardest thing I've ever done on any stage. So I actually was a dancer before the Marine Corps, and so I would travel around the country. I've done dance overseas, and that's easy. Public speaking is easy in comparison to doing stand-up comedy in front of anybody, in my humble opinion. I would say I learned so much about not only the craft of comedy by doing that, but also I learned about, what does good public speaking look like by doing that. I learned, it seems like I learned a year's worth of stuff by doing 1 5-minute bit in front of a bunch of amateur comedians at an open mic.
Whoa, dude, kudos to both of you for putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. As this is now a selfish question, as someone who has a stand-up comedy sketch as a bucket list item in my life, what is your recommendation on how long or how quickly were you into, I guess, from not doing any stand-up comedy to standing in front of an audience and doing your 5-minute skit? Like, what was that duration like?
7 days.
Holy shit, 7 days.
It was 7 days. Me and my brother, we always challenge each other on so many different levels. We actually did a fitness competition where we did physical comedy for like 3 minutes, and we ended up winning an award for it. It was great. But the stand-up comedy bit, we were both headed to LA. We were just hanging out. We were going to go to Universal Studios, things like that. And my brother was like, hey, let's challenge ourselves when we go down there. I was like, all right, what do you want to do? He's like, I don't know. What do you think? I was like, stand-up comedy. Let's do it. He's like, all right, it's done. We were going to go to the softball place. Softball is in like an easy, like almost like a comedy school in the beginning. And we show up. We have our 5 minutes all set up because my brother and I, we just kept going back and forth, iterating and try to get it better. And we went to the place and it was closed. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, we put all this work into doing comedy. We are doing comedy today. So we looked on Google. We were like, where's the nearest thing? And there's this studio, this club called The Laugh Factory down in LA. I mean, these are where serious comedians have been. Like some of the best names in comedy have performed at The Laugh Factory. And
sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, so actually, I take it back. It wasn't the Laugh Factory; it's the Ha Ha Club. There we go. Misspeak. Yeah, the Ha Ha Club. And so we went to the Ha Ha Club, and my stress level went from here to here because not only was I going to be doing this in front of people that were just coming in from off the street just to enjoy comedy, but there were probably like 16 or 17 amateur comedians that were going on as well. So these are people that have been doing it for years, and here we are, my brother and I, first time doing comedy, stepping up in front of this Shark Tank of an audience. But it was an awesome experience.
Wow. Well, wait, Ron, have you done comedy on stand-up comedy before?
We were actually gonna plan on it, Chris, myself, and another friend, but we never got around to it. We did poetry, we held ourselves to that, but we didn't have a set plan to do comedy for comedy stand-up. But I definitely would. That's definitely something that I know would make me uncomfortable, but you learn so much, and there's nothing better than being a great storyteller and also a great comedian.
I'm uncomfortable to ask you, what's the next uncomfortable thing that you guys are planning to do?
I don't know. Uncomfortable thing. I feel like there's not much left. Maybe skydive or something.
Well, yeah, I'll let you go out because I kind of feel like if I have to sign a waiver form anywhere, like my brown guy person kicks in, I'm like, nah. If you want me to sign something, I'm not doing this. This is not me. All right, I've got one more final question. What's your favorite cuisine or restaurant that you can share?
Yeah, my favorite meal that I've ever had in my entire life was in Hawaii at a place called Sushi Show. Sushi Show does 2 dinners a night, 10 seats. That's it. You usually have to book it months in advance. I was able to call that day and I was like, please tell me you have an opening. And they said, yeah, we have one. And I was out there for work and I went, and I tell you what, it is the absolute closest I've come to crying because of how good the food tasted. Ron and I, we are fine diners. We love a good meal. We did Mini Bar in DC. We've done Manresa here in the Bay Area. But for me, that actual meal is number one.
Whoa. I can't wait to try it. What about you, Ron?
So are we talking about best meal or just like favorite type of cuisine?
You can pick either. It's up to you.
All right, I'll give both a shot. For me, the best meal that I can recall off the top is being in the Philippines, and we ended up getting stranded because there was a typhoon. It was typhoon season. It was around, I think, September. And I was with some friends and their family. So we ended up getting stranded on an island. The waters were too rough to go back to the bigger island that we were on. And luckily for us, some fishermen also got stranded with us, and they had already had their catch. So we had like seafood from them. It was the freshest that I've ever had it, literally off the boat, right to us, cooked up. Wow. We had squid. We had scallops, fresh. I never saw a scallop in its shell until that time, and it was absolutely delicious. Favorite food, I would say right now, I love a great cooked steak. Like if you cook a great steak, would love to have it.
Oof. All the protein, right? #gains. Well, that was pretty much all the questions that I had. And thank you so much for taking the time out, Chris and Ron. It's been really informative, and it's also been really good to know you both as people as well. And I'm glad we were able to share the messaging and the purpose that you guys started Hacker Valley Studio with as well. So hopefully, and it sounds like looking at the comments, a number of views and stuff as well, it looks like a lot of people got some value from it as well. So this is amazing. I enjoyed a lot of our conversation. So thank you so much for taking the time out. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This was great.
Appreciate it.
For people who want to reach out to you guys, you can probably shout out your socials. I'm going to put them in the link and stuff anywheres. Is there I think you guys have a website as well. What's the website that people can reach out to you guys on?
It's easy. hackervalley.studio.
Easiest website ever.
hackervalley.studio. All right. So folks, you heard it first over here. That's like Chris and Ron from Hacker Valley Studio. Thanks so much for taking the time out, guys. I'm really thankful that you guys did and shared such a candid response to a lot of questions as well. Thank you so much. I'm gonna stop the podcast, but I'm looking forward to having many other conversations with you guys at this rate.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.